You're listening to Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast.
When your heart is aching and your world is shaking, don't give up. No, don't give up.
Hello and welcome to Oh My Health, There Is Hope, the podcast. I'm your host, Jana Short, and today I wanted to take the time to do a solo episode and share a little bit about why Oh My Health, There Is Hope, and how that all came about. We just hit our 200th episode, and I wanted to first thank all of you for all the thousands and thousands of downloads, all the beautiful messages you've been leaving and saying how someone's story has touched your life. And I just want to talk a little bit about why did I want to do this podcast? Why did I want to share stories of hope? Well, part of that was because of my journey. And so I think the best way to share that with you is just to share a little bit about what my journey looked like. So I'm living as a 50-year-old woman, doing my thing, feeling like I have everything under control. So I didn't get diagnosed with a scary illness and I didn't know what I was fighting, right? It was one of those things. And I know that some of you can relate to that. You know, something's not right. You're fighting it, but nobody knows what it is, right? It's just this hidden, scary thing. And I was in that hidden, scary place. And then I got a diagnosis. I had something called a hiatal hernia, the little hernia in your esophagus. Most of us have them. And most of us go on just fine without doing a thing about them. But mine twisted. And when it twisted, it restricted the blood flow to it, which means if there's no blood flow to tissue, it dies. And when it dies, it opens up. And when it opens up, that's part of my stomach. So it opens up and goes into my body cavity, which causes a bad infection. You become septic. It could be fatal. So I go to get this fixed in my 50s, thinking everything's fine. And after my surgery, I go home to heal. And I noticed every time I ate food, I was miserable. I felt like I would tell my husband all the time, I feel like food is killing me. I feel like it's poison all of a sudden. And I started putting on weight all in my stomach. And people would come up to me and say, Jana, congratulations on the new baby. And my first response would be, thank you. Because I'm 50. So thank you for thinking I'm still having babies, but I'm not pregnant. And of course I was embarrassed because I could see my stomach was getting bigger. I wasn't like not being proactive with my health. I was going to doctors. I was asking them, what's going on? Why am I miserable? I'm in pain. And of course, I was being diagnosed with other things. They told me at one point that I had a bleeding ulcer. So they gave me medicines for bleeding ulcer. And finally, one day, it got so bad that, and I know after you've been to the doctors a million times, how many of you are like, I just can't go again and have them tell me it's nothing. But I was rolling around in pain, which for me is very unusual because I have very high tolerance for pain. And I was in so much pain. My husband wraps me up, puts me in the car, takes me to the ER. And of course they feel my stomach because it's very extended and decide to do a CAT scan, I think it is. And they do this CAT scan and they've given me medication for the pain. So I'm kind of a little out of it. And I just remember them saying to me, what's your diet like? I'm like, diet? I'm not on a diet. Like, I know my stomach's gotten kind of big, but I'm not on a diet. And they're like, no, do you eat your hair? Like, do I? No, I don't eat my hair. Who eats their hair? You know what? It's a thing. There are people who eat their hair, but it wasn't my thing. So I wasn't eating my hair, but I had this large mass in my stomach. And it turns out that when I had that surgery to fix my hiatal hernia, that they accidentally damaged my vagus nerve. And I know a lot of you in the health industry knows what a vagus nerve is, and you know the importance of it. It's kind of like your spinal cord, right? Telling your arms and limbs to work. The vagus nerve is kind of that same nerve that tells your digestive tract, your stomach, and everything that's like functioning there, what's going on. It's kind of like the little brain route. and mine got damaged so that I had something called gastroparesis. That's what I was ended up being diagnosed with. And it was something that affected my digestive tract. It became pretty paralyzed, basically. So when I would eat food, it couldn't exit my stomach. And let me tell you, God is pretty magical, and he's created these amazing bodies that we have. And you can keep eating and food not exiting, and your stomach will just keep stretching, which is what happened to me. Well, after seeing several specialists, being miserable, not being able to eat, starting to lose my hair from being malnourished, because if it's not exiting your stomach and being broken down, the body can't get the nutrients it needs to like start working. And so after this process of all these things happening to me, I find out that the next step for me is to have my stomach removed. So it was recommended that I had a radical gastrectomy, which would remove my stomach. I would eat through a tube. I would eat TPN. And you know what? I'm 50 years old. I don't want to go anywhere. I'm going to do whatever I am told I need to do to be here. So I'm on my journey. I have, right before I go into the hospital for this surgery to have my stomach removed, I have a brand new grandson. I'm at his birth. I'm so excited. He's our 5th grandbaby. I just love this. I love my family so much. I'm feeling so blessed. And I go in for my surgery and all hell breaks loose. I come out of surgery, everything's fine. I'm on my healing process. And about 2 days into the healing process, I noticed some crazy things happening. I noticed I'm not feeling well. I noticed the medications they're giving me are making me a little more, I think, out of it. I noticed nobody's really talking to me about what the changes are. They've removed my food. They've removed me from drinking water. And I was just starting on like chicken broths or soft foods, but I wasn't even able to have water or suck on ice chips. And as things are getting more crazy, I'm getting sicker. And then I'm told, which I didn't even know at the time, that my surgery had dehisced, had opened up, and I was now septic. I was very, very sick. I had gotten pancreatitis. The TPN that they were giving me to feed me was causing my organs to start shutting down. And I was getting really sick. And remind you, the whole reason I had the hiatal hernia fixed is so that I could avoid it dehiscing and me becoming septic. And yet here I am. And it was bad. Like, I know that I had, at one point, I had 3 or 4 nurses in the room at all times because there were so many things being pumped into me. I don't do really well with medication. I'm one of those people who I just don't do well on them. Whatever symptom that you have, I'm going to have. And it was hard for them finding a mix of things to help me with the septic, being septic, help me with the pancreatitis. I was in constant pain. Thank goodness I do have a high pain tolerance. I was in the hands of really amazing doctors though. And oh my gosh, amazing nurses. I spent 2 months in there, and every day I fought. Every day my doctor would say, "How are you doing?" And I would say, "Fine, I'm fine." I refused to tell him how I was really doing because I knew that if I let that creep into my brain, that my brain would get confused on where I wanted to be. And when I was at my weakest, when I was really ready to give up, my husband came and he brought a picture because I would not let any of my kids in to see me. I remember seeing my mom as she passed, and I just didn't want them to have those memories of me. And they all had little families of their own. And I just wanted them to focus on that, like taking care of my family, right? And so my husband brings in this picture of all my grandkids and us. And in this one picture we had, and he sits it on my nightstand. He says, "If you can get better and you can get out of here, I will rent the most gorgeous beach house. We will take every one of our grandkids and we'll start creating memories. We will create memories that will last forever with them, with us." And I had something to fight for. And I understood the value of a memory. And then 8 weeks in the hospital, I did not get better. I didn't get worse, but I wasn't getting better. my incision wasn't connecting. I would drink this blue dye to see if I would like pass it in urine, which meant it wasn't working like it should work. It was a lot. And so I was being fed food that I could feel was poisoning me. It was shutting my organs down, but I couldn't eat because I had no stomach. And I had a stomach that was dropping everything into my body cavity. And I after 8 weeks, I had a serious talk with my doctors. And I remember, and I know that you have been in, any of you who have been in the hospital a while, you're probably thinking it's like vacation, right? Someone's going to wait on me, take care of me. It is more like a gel. You can't get up. You can't do anything without permission. Of course, I couldn't get up. And for me, the hospitals are either where you go to get well and leave very quickly, or you go to die. And I felt like this had changed for me, going well and leaving very quickly, to being a place where I was going to die. And so I remember when they came to have this talk with me, they told me that sadly, there was nothing more they could do for me, that my organs would probably just continue to shut down, and they can make me comfortable, or they could send me home and I could be comfortable there. Oh, hell, I wanted to go home. I did not feel this way when I walked in. I came in to have a surgery and everything went wrong. I wasn't dying. I haven't been given a diagnosis of a, cancer or something that was going to take my life from me. It was a surgery that completely went wrong. By the way, by no fault of my doctors. I want to make that really clear. When you have any surgery, there's always assumption of risk that something could go wrong. And most of us are extremely lucky, but sometimes something goes wrong. And I decided to come home, and my surgeon, bless his heart, I believe he's retired now. He called me every single morning for 2 months on his way to surgery or into the office. And he would call me, and it was, Jana, how are you today? Are you feeling better? He'd go down his list of questions. 2 months, he never missed a day. He called me every single morning at home to check on me. And I love that he did that, because it wasn't necessary, but it showed me that he was invested in me getting well as I was invested in me getting well. And when I was home, my daughter brought home that beautiful little baby who is now 9 weeks old. And she brought him over for me to see. And I was laying in bed. And I remember thinking I was so weak, but I wanted to, make me look good. I didn't want to look sick. And she brings that beautiful little boy for me to hold. And I remember when I was holding him, I looked down at him, and I thought, how could this precious little child possibly have even the slightest idea of what I'm like, what it feels like for your Nana to laugh with you, what it smells like. I remember my Nana, I called it the old lady smell, because she always wore too much perfume, and I didn't like perfume. But I'm telling you what I would give for one more smell of her. And how will he have one memory of me? He won't have one. I had an opportunity with the older ones to leave a memory, but I wanted to know what it was like to laugh with me and to like walk barefoot and splash water and just little things that we take for granted every single day. And all of a sudden, there was a shift in my mind. There was a change. I did not plan on surviving, because I was told by some pretty smart doctors that wasn't possible for me. I did not sit up in that bed and make a change because I thought I would have a longer life. It was because I wanted to create a memory with my grandson. I wanted to leave something behind that connected him to me and how much I loved him. And I got on my computer, because I was too weak to do anything else. I got on my little laptop and I typed in those words: desperate for health answers, holistic options. And I tried typing in all the crazy things that were going on with me, right? Like my organs are shutting down. I can't absorb nutrients. I'm malnourished. My hair's falling out. My nails are falling out. I'm weak. I just need a little more time, just a little more time to create a memory with this baby. How will he remember me? And how old do they have to be to recall that memory? And what can I do? And so in this desperation, I focused on right now. How can I create a memory right now? I'm not going to worry about all the things that happened last week, yesterday. I'm not going to focus on the fact that I may not be here tomorrow, what that looks like, what's happening. How do I create a moment right now? And in that change came a realization of what is possible in the moment. And we get so busy, and I'm guilty of this too, and I still have to put myself back on track. We get so busy in our life, so caught up in what could be, what might be, what should be in the future, what has been, what happened, what craziness was in the past, that we miss the best part. We miss the part we're standing in right now. We miss the moment we're in. I know as a mom raising my kids, I raised 4 children, and 3 of those children, what we would call Irish triplets. And they are like boom, boom, boom. Some of them share the same age at a few months during the year. They're very close in age. And my life was crazy. I was building a career. I was working on my relationship with my husband. I was all over the place with kids, dealing with a ton, right? You're dealing with your finances because you're young in a relationship. That's when all your expenses are going out. You're building and building and building. And I blinked. I'm telling you, it looking back, it was the blink of an eye. And they were grown up. And they were grown up and they had kids of their own. And you were telling them what your parents told you. Don't blink. Enjoy this moment. Don't get caught up in everything. You're going to miss something really spectacular. I think it's just the process we all have to go through, but it all came back to me in that moment of me trying to create a memory, that moment of what's right now. What can I control right now in this second? How can I leave a memory right now with this baby? How do I share a laugh, share a smile, share a smell, share something that he will remember? And my life became different. And as I'm searching to create this memory, things start changing. I start looking for holistic options. And oh my gosh, how many of you are very well educated? I'm a well-educated woman. And yet some of these things were like, what is breath work? What is meditation? Like just sitting being still? What is mindset? What does that mean? What is manifestation? Isn't that for like woohoo people? What are these things? And how come I don't know about them? And when I started experiencing them and doors started opening in my health world, in my journey, things started changing. It was like, how come nobody else knows about this? Do other people know about this? Am I the only one? And if I didn't know about it, how many other people don't know about it? And I started educating myself. I started reading books because I'm kind of weak. I'm not going to be running any races or running any errands. And I started educating myself. I started learning about holistic options. My introduction to holistic options was essential oils. And I'd heard about essential oils for cooking, and I heard about essential oils for other things. I had never heard about essential oils to change your life and enhance your wellness journey. And I will tell you, essential oils did not cure me of anything. My stomach did not grow back. Nothing has changed with my diagnosis, but what it has done is enhance the time that I have here. It has helped me thrive in my diagnosis. A lot of you are not going to be able to change your diagnosis. That doesn't mean you cannot change your outcome of your here and now. I do not know if I will be here another 50 years, 30 years, 20 years, or 20 minutes. And you know what? I don't care, because all that matters is right now. All that matters is me getting this message out to you right now, creating that connection with you right now. And what happened for me on this healthy wellness journey, I want to call it a journey, but it was kind of like this rebirth. What happened for me is the more I educated, the more I wanted to share it. And sharing my story, by the way, was never easy. It wasn't. For me, when you're sick and you're a mom, it's shameful, like to not be able to show up for your family. There's shame in that. For me, there was. By the way, there's no shame in that. That was a complete misnomer on my part. But for me, breaking was shameful. I did not want to tell people I was sick. I did not want to tell people, like, I'm fine. Oh, everything's good. How are you? Like, when you're walking down the street and you see a friend you haven't seen in years, how have you been? What are they triggered to say? Great. How about you? And maybe they're not great, but that's what we're trained to do. And so telling my story, which was scary, it was at the darkest place for me. I was very vulnerable, and it was not a place I wish anybody visit. Not often, not ever, but it was what I needed. It's exactly what I needed to grow or evolve into right where I'm at right now, sharing with you on the podcast. But I want to talk to you about Oh My Health, There Is Hope. When I first told my story, I remember going out and I was not at all, when people would ask me about my story, nobody wants to hear about my story. By the way, I just want to hear about your story. I want to know what I can do for you. You don't care about my story. Who's going to relate to losing their stomach? Who cares about my story? It's not even very relatable. Well, I was asked to share my story by someone who I respect very much. And when they asked me, I said yes, out of a need to give back to them for giving so much to me. And I don't care whatever that was, it was what I needed to step up. And when I stepped up and I shared my story, I remember the first time I kept saying, and then, I was so nervous. I was wringing my hands. I was scared. I was trying not to get emotional because, strong women don't show emotion. And so I'm trying not to get emotional, and I'm telling my story. And all of a sudden, my story started telling itself. And I'm telling it, I'm still nervous. And it just started coming out. And when I left, all I could think about is, oh my God, that was horrifying. I must have horrified everybody. And was it too much? Oh my gosh. And then I leave the stage, and the stage director, because it was a very big venue. And so there's like these directors, thank goodness, because you come off, you're like disoriented, like what's happening. And the stage director put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Where are you going?" And I remember thinking, am I not done? Please tell me this is over and I'm never doing it again. And she's like, "No, you're done. But there is a line of people waiting to talk to you." And I peeked my head around the corner, and there were like 200 or 300 people standing in line. And I leaned back. They want to talk to me. It's like the cops knocking at your door, right? What do they want? What did I do? And so I'm okay. And I go there. I have no idea what to expect. Why do they want to talk to me? And one after another, they come to me with tears running down their face, hugging me. Oh my gosh. I had the same sort of experience. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I was just about to give up hope. And I realized in that moment why I had lived that journey, why all those horrible things that I kept saying, why is this happening to me? What did I do? I must have done something really bad to be here right now. I realized that all of that was for this moment. And I'm a moment kind of girl, right? I don't think about the past. I'm not focused on my future. I'm right now, right here. All of that was for here, for right now. And I understood the power of sharing your story and the hope that you give. It's like those painful moments when you're on the other side of it, sometimes even when you're going through it, are like these heartbeats that shoot out of you across the globe, across the table at home, across the street to another driver who's, just balancing road rage. Those things shoot out of you and they give people hope. And so I wanted to write a book. And I wanted to tell my story in a book, right? Because then I don't have to get up there and be vulnerable in front of people. And I remember writing that book and I cried and I laughed and I did it, like all of it. And then I looked at the completed product. I had like 2 good chapters. Like I just did not feel at that point in my life that I had a whole book in me. But because I shared my story, people were flooding to tell me theirs. And I was always moved by them, right? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you came from there and you've done this and look what you're doing now with it. And I was connecting those beautiful stories and how that was their journey. That was what led them to this moment. And I would start asking people, would you mind putting that in my book? And we released the book. And I wanted to call it Oh My Health, There's Hope. Because even if it's mental health, business health, financial health, there is hope for you. And when the book was released, it was a bestseller. It became an international bestseller. And I knew it wasn't just my story. I knew it's the power of all these stories, of all these brave people standing up, telling you their most vulnerable, darkest, scariest moment, telling you I survived it. And not only did I survive it, I survived it. I'm here today to share it with you, to give you hope on whatever it is you're traveling through. And I had to tell more stories. And so we created the podcast. And I remember thinking everybody's doing their podcast. My grandchildren are probably doing podcasts in their garage. Everybody's doing a podcast. But I can tell you today, we have about 270,000 downloads. We're getting thousands of downloads a day because of your stories. Because your stories put a ripple effect out into the world that creates change and gives hope. Your stories are powerful. I would tell you that your story and your journey and those scars that you've gotten, those are your superpowers. Be proud of them. I will tell you some of my most embarrassing moments that turned out were my journeys. I was pregnant at 16. I'm a single mom at 17, just barely 17, trying to get through college, trying to, I worked at what was it called? Carl's Jr. I worked at Carl's Jr. That was one of my jobs. I worked cleaning a hotel rooms. I worked 3 jobs, took care of my daughter, went to school, and I thought it was the pits. I was supposed to be hanging out with my friends in Palm Springs or going to the Florida in college, doing the fun stuff. And I definitely did not get that fun life. Totally did not get that. Did I mention my dad was an alcoholic and he took off when I was a kid? And so he popped back up in my life, which was another whole fun story. All of those things that I thought, why me? Those darkest moments turned out to be the joys of my life. My daughter is now 42 years old and she is a DNM, a doctor of natural medicine. I couldn't be more proud of her. She is crushing it. And I know it had a little bit to do with the fact that I was an inexperienced mother for sure, but I loved her. I loved her regardless. And she is phenomenal in spite of me. That darkest moment became one of my biggest joys. And it lasted a long time, right? Being a young single mom lasts a really long time. And then other single moms come up to me and they're like, oh, I was a single mom too, but I don't talk about it, right? You should talk about it. You should talk about it and let people know there's hope who are going through that journey. So whatever dark moments that you're going through right now, whatever you're ashamed of, whatever scar you're hiding, stop hiding it. It's part of you. God doesn't make accidents. He allows us this beautiful journey. He allows us to fall so that we can get up. He allows us to run into walls. He allows us to be in toxic relationships. He allows us to learn whatever it is we're here to learn. And hopefully we learn it. And hopefully when we do learn it, that puts us in our place of passion. I am in my passion right now. I'm living my passion, educating others, getting that message out there, shining a light on incredible, credible people. And it all started with me wanting to create a memory with that beautiful little baby. I will tell you, I now have 7 grandchildren, not 5. He was our 5th. I now have 7, and they're not even babies anymore. 2 of them are getting their driver's permit or have gotten their driver's permit. And I try to harness every moment I can to create a moment. So for those of you who are grandparents, or those of you who are just parents looking at someday you're going to be grandparents, that's your do-over. You've taken that message that your parents told you, don't blink, because in the blink of an eye, they're gone. They're grown up. It really is the blink of an eye. And when you're a grandparent, it has sunk in like, holy cow, I need to be in this moment. I want to hear the whining, the screaming, the snotty noses, the silly things they say, the messes they make. I want it all because it's going to be gone. It doesn't last. And so for all of you who are living in some sort of pain, I want you to know there is hope. For all of you that have scars, those beautiful scars were given to you for a reason. You were allowed that journey because at some point, something miraculous is coming for you. And because of that, for me, I have this podcast that I don't know why you guys listen, but you do. And I'm so grateful. I know it's because of the powerful stories. And I don't know why people go and get the magazine. We created Best Holistic Life magazine, but it was, again, to get education out there for free for you, to get education from other experts who aren't being seen, because it's hard. It's hard when you're an expert and you're building a business online. It's sometimes hard to be seen because it's saturated, right? How do you find the right expert? How do you learn to build trust and rapport online? It's hard, but it can be done. So don't give up on yourself. Stop hiding those beautiful scars. If you have a story of hope, give me a call. I want to share it. It is your superpower, and it was given to you to get out into the world and to share with others, because you do not know who you might be helping. You do not know who you might have given 1 more ounce of strength to make it to the next day. You just don't know. And at the end of the day, what do you want to put out as a ripple effect? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? And I'm hoping my legacy is of hope. So thank all of you so much for listening to the show. 200 episodes. We just went over 200 episodes, over 200,000 subscribers and downloads. Thank you so much for your support, for allowing me to share our messages of hope with you. Thank you. And have a wonderful day tuning in. Reach down in the link and grab your free subscription to Best Holistic Life magazine. You are going to love it. Thank you guys so much. I love you all.
Thanks for listening to the Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast. Make sure to visit Jana's website, bestholisticlife.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, or listen there, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you simply tell a friend about the show, that'll help too. Let's change the world together, one health expert at a time. Looking forward to seeing you next time.